Welcome to I Read This Book 2024. I'm Katie Bruce. I'm one of the Children's Youth Services librarians here at PPL. I'm here on behalf of Marissa Warren, our Teen Services librarian, who unfortunately could not be with us tonight. I Read This Book is a program that started way back in 2015, and it was a way for the teens on the library's Teen Advisory Board to share some of their favorite recent reads with their peers and the community. Since 2015, it has grown to be one of the most exciting and anticipated library programs each year. I know everyone in this room tonight is really excited to hear what this year's tab has chosen and what they're going to tell us about, so we're going to get started without any further ado. Are you ready, Felix? So Felix is going to kick it off. Come on up, Felix.
Sounds good. So I'm Felix, and the book I read is Ping Pong, and it's by Taiyo Matsumoto. Not sure if I pronounced that right. So I'll do a quick summary first. Ping Pong, as the title says, is about ping pong. The main character, Makamoto Smile Tsukimoto, is unbelievably talented. Unfortunately for his coach and his teammates, though, he really doesn't like competing and feels bad for the people he's beating, so he just gives up halfway through or lets other people win, especially against his best friend Paco, who he goes easy on whenever they play. But when his coach sees this, it reminds him of himself as a kid, and he starts pushing Smile to try to make him competitive. And as time goes on, we see flashes of his competitive drive, and they blow even the strongest opponents away. But they are few and far between. Now, before I get into why I chose this book, I want to say this is the first of 2 books. And as of writing this, I have not gotten the pleasure of reading a second, so I actually don't know how this book's story ends, but I still wanted to write about the book because, and this is like the reason why I love this book, it has really made me think about my own relationship with losing and winning, both of which I have done a good bit. And Ping Pong does this kind of unapologetically. It sticks in your face the fact that talented people don't always deserve those talents because they don't use them. And one of its greatest strengths is the way it shows loss. I'll touch on that at the very end. This book also covers everyone who does sports, from the ones who live and breathe it to the ones that just do it for fun, in a way that lets you relate to anyone and everyone. And before I wrap this up, there's 2 things I want to say about the book. The first being the art style, which is quite hard to describe, but if I had to, I'd say it is a noir-inspired manga with beautiful action lines and great character sketches. And the second, and my favorite bit, is the exploration of loss. There's no other feeling like losing at something you love, especially when the stakes are high. And yet when we win, we don't think about the one who lost. And so when Smile loses on purpose, he is saying, I don't want someone to lose because of me. But as he starts winning, you question what the right thing to do is. Would your opponent rather lose because you did better than get a superficial win? Should you even give a second thought to how your opponent feels? As you read this book, you ask yourself these questions. I don't think those questions, after hearing them, will ever really leave. And then next up is Karina.
Hello, my name is Karina, and this is my second year on tab. So to start off, let me ask you all a question. Have you ever misspoken a word even though you had the entire sentence clearly planned out? Or maybe you've misheard words that someone else said to you? These slip-ups are called parapraxes, and Sigmund Freud goes into detail about them in his introductory lectures on psychoanalysis. So I actually discovered this book right outside in the library bookstore, and I was immediately compelled to read it. This book is split into 3 sections. The first is about these parapraxes, the second is about dreams, and the third discusses general theories about neurotic behavior. for it discusses possible explanations of the subconscious actions that we as humans take and analyzes them and the psychological reasons behind them. Different topics mentioned in this book range from slips of the tongue to anxiety to phobias. While this is definitely a more dense and complicated read, I think it is still definitely worth to give this book a try. If you're ever looking for a stronger understanding of subconscious actions that we as humans take, this is the perfect read. Thank you. And our next presenter couldn't be up here with us tonight, but they have prepared something ahead of time. So up next is Vivian, followed by Ashley.
Hi, I'm Vivian. I'm a senior at Princeton High School, and I've been a member of TAB for the past 2 years. And for I Read This Book this year, I will be presenting Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zauner. This is a memoir written by an artist better known as Japanese Breakfast. With thoughtful narration, she delves into her relationship with her mother, starting from childhood and going through her mother's eventual death due to cancer. As her mother's health declines, their relationship shifts. By flashing backward, she draws symmetry between seemingly mundane childhood memories and their heart-wrenching final moments together. The consistent use of vivid imagery, funny dialogue, and honesty keeps the reader thoroughly engaged throughout. There are moments that every reader can relate to because Zauner shares incredibly personal and poignant accounts of her most raw emotions. The guilt she bears for being a difficult child, the anger she attempts to suppress due to conflicts between goals her parents set for her and the ones she has set for herself, and the immense gratitude she describes when her mother simply lies with her to help her fall asleep, are merely a few of the universal experiences she touches upon. Sprinkled throughout the story, there are also mouth-watering descriptions of Korean food. For Zauner, food was a critical element of her relationship with her mother. And as someone who loves to bake and cook, I felt inspired not only to try new recipes, but invite others to share in this joy. If you're looking for a quick read that will leave a lasting impression about food, grief, and family, check out Crying in H Mart. I would recommend buying some snacks and a box of tissues, though, before you start.
Hi, I'm Ashlyn. This is my second year on TAB. So one of my favorite books of this year so far has been Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. It's a thrilling book that is impossible to put down. It follows the character Violet Sorrengail, whose mother is a general and whose father had been a scribe. Violet had spent her whole life preparing to enter the scribe quadrant for college, but after her father's death, her mother sends her to the Riders Quadrant. She must prepare to be sent off to fight in the protection of her country. So in comparison to the Scribe Quadrant, the Riders Quadrant has an extremely high death rate, and Violet's life is consistently on the line. As the reader follows Violet's journey, various truths are revealed, allowing readers to explore the themes of power and corruption. These themes are weaved into the book in a way that allows me to reflect on our society without it feeling cliché. This book is also a perfect page-turner for fantasy lovers, while also including just the right amount of romance. Yarros expertly integrates world-building into the beginning of the novel, which helped to set up the plot without losing interest. Additionally, the end of each chapter left me curious for what's to come. In fact, the book ends with a jaw-dropping plot twist, which is followed up in the sequel, Iron Flame, and Fourth Wing is planned to not only be a 5-book series, but also a TV show. I'm really excited to continue watching this plot unfold, and if you are looking for a new mythical world to become engrossed in, I definitely recommend Fourth Wing as your next read. Up next is Tessa.
Hi, I'm Tessa and I'm a sophomore at PHS. The book I read is Song of the Lark by Willa Cather, which follows the life of the protagonist, Thea Kronberg, and her journey to becoming a singer. Thea first discovers that she has musical talent in her rural town in Colorado, and her determination to make the most of her gift for singing and piano takes her from Colorado to Chicago, Arizona, Germany, and New York City. Along the way, she meets many kindred spirits who help her find her place in the world. One of the things I loved about Song of the Lark was Cather's writing. She makes every aspect of Thea's life come alive for the reader, both when it comes to the outside world, like deserts or cities, and when it comes to the inner world of many characters. Her descriptions, especially of nature, often made me feel like I was in the beautiful landscapes Thea visits, and Cather very effectively uses nature as a tool to evoke many emotions central to the book. Another thing that stood out to me when reading Song of the Lark is the way Thea is depicted. Though the experience of becoming an opera singer is far from relatable for most people, Cather vividly describes Thea's frustrations and joys throughout her life in a way that's easy to understand and relate to as a reader. I think people should read this book because of the way it talks about finding purpose in life and the importance of forming connections with other people. I personally thought that Thea's journey was very powerful, and I think that anyone reading it will find themselves inspired and permanently affected by the Song of the Lark. Up next is Nina.
Hi everyone. My name is Nina. I'm a junior at the Pennington School, and this is my third year on TAB. I chose Carrie by Stephen King, a horror novel about a girl named Carrie White who has been chronically confined, repressed, and abused by her extremely religious mother. She was a victim of extreme bullying by her peers. However, she discovered she had telekinetic powers after she got her first period in the locker room, which she developed as she began to rebel against her mother and her image. The story peaked when she was invited to prom by Tommy Ross at the request of his girlfriend, Sue Snow, who felt guilty for her mistreatment of Carrie. However, one of her bullies plotted to pour pig blood on her as she was crowned prom queen, which catalyzed her to destroy her entire town. Stephen King was inspired by a girl he knew in high school. The horror of her continual mistreatment stuck with him and spurred him to model his narrative after the reality of bullying. The gore of Carrie's tirade as she set fire to her town and killed her classmates was shocking, but the truly terrifying part of the novel was how she was treated. The people around her had a bottomless capacity to dehumanize and traumatize her in unimaginably inhumane ways. Carrie explores the natural consequences of the intersection between a lack of love and continuous abuse from multiple sources. She was taught her entire life that she was undesirable and deserved to be treated horribly. I chose this novel because it's an important reminder that a lifelong lack of love directly drives people towards destruction. We all have the power to prevent this by humanizing the individuals who we usually ostracize. People similar to Carrie exist all around us, especially in high school, and it's our obligation to treat them with the care, compassion, and respect that they deserve. Thank you. Next up is B.
This is Carrie, by the way. Hi, my name is B. I am a TAB member. I've been a TAB member for 3 years. I'm a junior at Princeton High School. I will be discussing tonight a book of plays by Noel Coward. Noel Coward was a household name growing up, given that my mom teaches theater, and I was always finding some way to get on stage. She recently gave me a book of Noel Coward's plays entitled 3 plays, Blithe Spirit, Hay Fever, and Private Lives. Coward writes in much the same way as Helen Cresswell or P.G. Wodehouse. His tone is witty, satirical, and often almost farcical. All 3 of the plays in this book are set in or around the 1940s England, and thus all of his characters are deeply English. The running theme throughout all of his plays is the interactions of extremely theatrical characters, and characters lovingly referred to as the normals. His plays almost invariably involve one of the theatricals making up their mind that they want to marry a normal and then almost immediately regretting it. The first play, Blithe Spirit, begins at a dinner party where 2 families, the Condamines and the Bradmans, are being entertained by a rather eccentric fortune teller named Madame Arcotti. The skeptical families first view it as merely a show, Mr. Condamine, in fact, planning on using it as material to write a book on the fraudulence of such characters. However, as the evening progresses, he becomes aware of a new presence. The play goes on to explore the intricacies of a life when one's ex-wife comes back from the grave as a ghost, to have deeply bothersome interactions with you. The characters in this play are vivid and the dialogue is fast-paced and extremely funny. The second play, Hay Fever, follows the Bliss family, a deeply theatrical and mildly melodramatic set of characters. To begin with, each one of the family members invites someone to spend the weekend, without mentioning it to any of the other family members. the chaos that then ensues as the four normals arrive and experience the blisses at their most ostentatious. Many of the scenes involve elaborate theater games or scenes from plays that the family is enacting without first giving their visitors any context as to what is happening. The result is an unbelievably funny display of pandemonium, which anyone would be lucky to read about, let alone see on stage. The final play, Private Lives, entails two pairs of newlyweds, Elliot and Sybil, and Amanda and Victor, who both choose to have their honeymoons at the same hotel. This wouldn't be a problem, except that Elliot and Amanda, the theatricals, if you were wondering, had been married. In Amanda's words, they were two violent acids bubbling away in a nasty little matrimonial bottle. Once they see each other, however, it's clear that they were more than that. This is one of Coward's plays where very little has to happen apart from the dialogue, and you'll find yourself laughing. These are some of my favorite because it's easy to set up a complex plot and have your comedy rely on that. But it's very difficult to write so much good dialogue when very little is actually happening, and Coward is a master at it. To describe these three plays, I researched antonyms for serendipity, and apparently the word zemblandity, although not in an English dictionary, was coined by a Scottish author to describe unhappy, unlucky, and unexpected discoveries. Many of Coward's plays involve zemblandity of one kind or another, and generally, much of it turns into some of truly the wittiest comedy I've ever read. I hope to one day be able to go and see his plays on stage, but reading them has made me laugh so hard that I'm not sure I'll ever need to. Next up is Samantha.
Hi, I'm Samantha, and this is my first year on TAB. So today I'll be talking about Call Me Athena by Colby Cedar Smith. And this is a novel in verse told from the perspectives of three narrators, Mary, Geo, and Jean. Mary, our main narrator, is the daughter of French and Greek immigrants living in Depression-era Michigan. She longs to escape her tiny apartment crammed with siblings and become an independent modern woman, as she puts it, much to the exasperation of her parents who just want her to behave. During World War I, Geo finds himself ripped away from his family and homeland of Greece to fight for a country he doesn't feel a part of, in a war he doesn't really understand. And Jean volunteers as a nurse for World War I soldiers in her seaside French town, and starts to feel the sheltered world she has always known fall apart. Even though they are all so different, all these characters are connected by their hope and ultimately their desire for freedom. This book is profound and really moving. From the first poem, which is called Grief, it sweeps you away with the beautiful language that the author uses. The way she writes the verse makes the simplest things, like folding laundry or washing your hands, seem very special. This novel offers so many interesting perspectives on the human experience and what it means to be a person. The immigrant experience is also a big part of the story, with many of the main characters feeling like they don't belong in their country because of where they come from. It also touches on war and what it does to people. Whether someone is a soldier who fights in the war or simply an ordinary person, war affects everyone, and everyone feels its effects. In the end, this is a story about love, loss, and hope, but it is also a story about finding yourself in a world that seems against you. And next up is Oriana.
Hi, my name is Oriana, and today I will be talking about Crying in the Bathroom by Erika L. Sanchez. Crying in the Bathroom is a powerful and moving memoir and essays by Erika L. Sanchez. It explores the complexities of growing up as the daughter of immigrants and being a young woman of color in America. I was first interested in this book because I had read Sanchez's novel, Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, which has many parallels to the author's own life. Though it took some time for me to get into this memoir, once I did, I really couldn't put it down. I really enjoy Sanchez's honest storytelling. The memoir does a great job of showing a glimpse into her life, where she grapples with issues of identity, family, sexuality, religion, and mental health. I love the way she writes and how it feels like she's having a conversation with you. Sanchez shares her deeply personal struggles with depression and anxiety, which I found to be really powerful. I think Crying in the Bathroom is a really raw and ultimately hopeful account of her journey towards self-discovery and healing. The book also, which I found this was interesting, that the book also has connections to Princeton, as Sanchez was a 2017 to 2019 Princeton University Arts Fellow, and she does write about her experience here in Princeton in this book. So next up is Sylvia.
Hi, my name is Sylvia, and this is my second year in TAB, and I'm talking about On a Sunbeam by Tilly Walden. On a Sunbeam is a beautifully written and illustrated sci-fi fantasy graphic novel that follows the life of the teenager Mia. It is written through Mia's perspective at 2 different times in her life. We are introduced to Mia when she joins the crew of the Atkiss, a fish-shaped spaceship, and works with a team of engineers and construction workers on jobs restoring architectural sites. Alternating chapters take place earlier in Mia's childhood when she attends the space-based boarding school and shows her struggle with newfound love, fitting in, and a sort of Quidditch-like sport with flying fish planes racing in and out of tunnels in midair. The book follows Mia as she matures from a child into a young adult and works through the challenges of growing up, plus the ones that come along with space travel. I personally love art, and the illustrations in On a Sunbeam were a huge reason that it resonated with me so much. The color palette is limited to 3 main colors, however the deep shades and well-thought-out contrast brings the magical locations to life. Walden uses simplistic character expressions and yet is able to convey so much emotion that just cannot be brought out through words. If you are looking for an adventure-packed, gorgeous sci-fi story with fun and lovable characters, On a Sunbeam is my recommendation for you. And next up is Vree.
Hi, my name is Bree and I'm a sophomore at Princeton High School and it's my first year at TAB. Today I'll be talking about The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It's actually the second in the Inheritance Game series. This is an amazing mystery that follows a group of teenage cousins who try to figure out why their grandfather disinherits them. Avery Graham is a small-town girl with a normal life, or at least she thought so. That is until one day she gets a letter stating that billions of dollars were added to her bank account from a mysterious man she's never met, named Tobias Hawthorne. He had left almost everything to her except for some random belongings like cars and properties. Avery was in extreme denial that this money even belonged to her, and was dead set on trying to find out why it was given to someone like her. Avery believes that she has no connection to this man whatsoever, so when she's invited by Tobias's grandchildren to the Hawthorne mansion, she agrees to go. Avery and Tobias's 4 grandchildren work together to uncover family secrets and the reason behind the disinheritance. This book surprised me with all its plot twists. At every page you turn, something different will happen that just keeps adding to the story. I really like the character backstories to each of the 4 grandkids and how they have inner family rivalries that contribute to the overall mystery, solving the theme of the book. I will definitely be finishing the series. Up next is Lily.
Okay, hi, my name's Lily. This is my second year on TAB, and I'm going to, I need to turn this, my bee, y'all. And I am going to be presenting the Book of Goose by Yeon Lee. So this book is told in retrospect as grown-up Agnes looks back at her childhood, in which she grew up in post-war rural France with her best friend, Fabienne. To put it quite simply, Fabienne and Agnes's relationship is codependent and at best toxic. Agnes describes it as her quote-unquote only flaw, and also describes her relationship as, I was a whetstone to Fabienne's blade. There was no point in asking which one of us was made of harder material, but the truth is that a whetstone and a blade without one another are just useless objects. So as their relationship is. Agnes continues on to describe she had her will, and I my willingness to be led by her will. But despite Fabienne's unpolished appearance and mannerism, she has a gift, her imagination. So she tells Agnes these stories, and Agnes has perfect penmanship and writes them down. But the issue with these stories is while they are made up, they can be described as horrifying at best. They include executions, death, and a headless chicken. But they end up working with this old man from their village to get it published, and much to everybody's dismay, it becomes immensely popular in France. But the twist is that Fabienne didn't want to be related to these stories publicly, so she had written down Agnes as the sole author. So Agnes then gets a full scholarship to a preppy British school. So she gets sent off to that, But separated from one another, Fabienne deteriorates and develops an alter ego as her made-up brother and writes letters to Agnes from her alter ego. And without one another, they begin to question who they are. So will Agnes return to the French countryside? How will her friendship with Fabienne progress? And how will these two girls grow without one another? This book pushes the boundaries of friendship and loyalty, and also about mental illness, even if it's not explicitly said. Most importantly, this book speaks of truth, and something that is just all too rare in this world. But overall, this is just such a beautifully written book. Every single word is placed meaningfully. To put it quite simply, it is an English teacher's dream. And reading it, I thought to myself, there are so many toxic elements in this friendship, but without one another, these two girls would just be two girls on the countryside, struggling to get along. So without my friends, where would I be? And obviously my friendships aren't toxic. I'm just saying, friends are important. And next up is Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, and I'm a freshman at PHS. Today, I'll be talking about The Silence That Binds Us by Joanna Ho. And a quick trigger warning, my review briefly mentions non-graphic suicide, so if you're not comfortable with its mention, you can feel free to step out for a moment. So this novel explores racism, mental health, and ideas of intercommunity solidarity, and the story centers around 16-year-old Maybelline Chen, a Chinese and Taiwanese American girl who wants to become a writer. She has an older brother named Danny who has just been admitted to Princeton University. Everything seems perfect, but one night her brother commits suicide, leaving May and her family dealing with grief and accusations from her community that her immigrant parents were putting too much pressure on him. I found May's courage the most inspiring thing in this book. Although she faces hate and her parents explicitly tell her to stay silent, she refuses to keep her head down and leads a wave of change through her community. Ho's writing of May's poetry is beautifully heartbreaking, and if you read this book, you'll probably cry at least once. I also liked how this novel emphasized ideas of solidarity between Black and Asian communities. We often read stories that have a focus on the struggles of one minority group, but we often don't see representation of how different communities facing oppression can work together to fight it. Mental health is also addressed in the different ways that May and her parents deal with loss, to the depression that drove Danny to cut his life short in the first place. And there's still a lot of cultural stigma around discussion of mental health and the idea of seeking help, and I feel like this novel really aims to break it. Overall, I think this is a really impactful book, especially in light of the area we live in and the importance of issues like racism and mental health in the world today. I highly recommend this for anyone who is looking to break their own internalized stereotypes and step into the shoes of a strong character who challenges them. Up next is Arrow.
Hi, I'm Arrow, and I'm a junior at Princeton High School. I'll be talking about The Brothers Karamazov by Fyodor Dostoevsky. The Brothers Karamazov is Dostoevsky's greatest masterpiece. It's a complex novel that explores the nature of religion and family, contemplating the existence of God and what it means to be a father. Its main protagonist, Alyosha, is a devout monk living under the wing of the elder Zosima, a wise mentor who spreads love through his preachings. Alyosha has two brothers, Ivan, a sharp-witted young adult struggling with the existence of unjust suffering and that of God, and Mitya, a hot-headed, impulsive man with an honest heart. After the murder of their father, the insufferable Fyodor Pavlovich, all suspicion falls on Mitya, who on several occasions publicly professed hate for his father and drunkenly exclaimed that he planned to kill him. Mitya is arrested while on his spree with his fiery lover Grushenka, and the novel follows the story of his trial. The book also narrates and ends with a side narrative about Alyosha befriending and caring for a sick little boy, Ilyusha, and his friends. There is so much to say about this book, which counts at almost 1,000 pages. It's deeply philosophical, wildly entertaining, and laugh-out-loud hilarious at times. Although it was written around 150 years ago, the novel portrays incredibly relatable characters like Mrs. Koklikov, an endlessly talkative woman that I guarantee you'll feel like you've met before. Its main focus is on religion, delving into arguments for and against the malevolence and existence of God through the long, complicated rants of the elder Zosima and Ivan.
The novel also explores the duties of those within a family, evaluating both Fyodor's role as Mitya's father and Ilyusha's shame about his impoverished father. All in all, I couldn't recommend this book more for anyone with the patience for a bit of a long-winded writing style. It's such a philosophical yet entertaining read. One of my favorite parts of the book is the frequent fits of delirium and hysteria that many of the characters fall into throughout the novel. It makes me laugh and wonder if that was really the norm back then. In all seriousness, though, throughout the Brothers Karamazov, Dostoevsky displays his thorough understanding of the mind and its many emotions, making for an amazing, intricate book that I highly recommend you read. Up next is Julia.
Hi everyone, I'm Julia and I'm a freshman at PHS and this is my first time doing TAB and I skipped one. And I will be presenting the novel A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. So I've been into murder, dystopian, and gory books for like a really long time, and I finally got around to reading this, which had been on my to-be-read list for God knows how long. But I got it from the library and I just like immediately fell into the story. The book follows the main protagonist is a girl named Pip, and she's super into true crime, and for her school project decides to look into a crime that happened in her own town. She decides to discover the truth about what happened to Andy, a girl supposedly murdered by her boyfriend Sal, who then took his own life after he was accused of killing her. I love a book with twists and turns, and this was definitely it. It had a cute but not cringy or unnecessary romance subplot and pages that keep you turning. I ended up reading the whole series, and I absolutely recommend it. There are 2 following books and 1 prequel, and there's also a TV show coming out soon, and they're equally action-filled. I love a good murder mystery where you don't know where each page will take you. The author just knows exactly how to lead you one way and then make you realize you're entirely wrong a chapter later. And I especially love Pip, the main character's determination and bravery in the book, even when it gets her into trouble. If you're looking for a good read, this is absolutely it. Up next is James.
Hi, my name is James. This is my first year on TAB, and today I'll be talking about The Boys in the Boat by Daniel James Brown. This nonfiction book follows a group of 9 men who comprise the United States rowing team and were able to win the gold medal at the 1936 Summer Olympics held in Germany. The members of the team, including the main character, Joe Rance, met at the University of Washington, where they were all on the rowing team together. Rowing is what gave them their first opportunity to see the world, as they had all come from low-income backgrounds. While training for the Olympics, the men also had to overcome all of the hardships that fell upon their families due to the Great Depression that struck America in 1929. While the book focuses mainly on these young men, a portion of it also addresses the Nazis and how they were able to cover up the horrible treatment that they had inflicted upon Jewish people. The Olympics essentially provided Hitler with a means to show off the new and strong country that he'd built. I thoroughly enjoyed reading The Boys in the Boat, as I liked how the author was able to combine a heartfelt personal story along with the history of the time period. I think that it's interesting how well the stories of the rowers and the rise of Nazi Germany were intertwined. This book is especially ideal for someone who likes World War II history and wants to learn more about how Hitler used propaganda to his advantage. I recommend this book to anyone who enjoys reading about people having to overcome numerous obstacles or anyone who's just a history buff in general. Up next is Kyle.
Hello, my name is Kyle, and today I'm going to talk about Machiavelli's The Prince. I originally became interested in the book because of discussing absolute monarchies in history class. Afterwards, I decided to read the text that became associated with the increasing power of monarchy figures. The book is filled with many lessons for rulers of principalities. Raise a powerful citizen army, try everything that you can to gain the awe of your subjects, eliminate those who may threaten you, and stand as an impressive figure, as well as much more. A prince must never appear weak. They must be regarded as a person to be feared. The author explains his advice through the triumphs and defeats of ancient rulers, followed by the rulers of the era. What truly intrigued me was the determination with which the author speaks, and the way in which he was able to clearly use his reason to elaborate upon his thoughts. The ideas in the book will keep any reader invested in knowing what piece of knowledge will come next. Another reason that I was motivated to read this book was to try to understand some of the modern implications of such thought. While I obviously don't promote choosing to listen only when you want to listen, and I would certainly hope to deter others from looking out only for themselves, it is easy to see that books such as these have influenced the thought processes of contemporary leaders. It outlines how to firmly maintain one's power in their rise to the top. Because of that, I would recommend that everyone read Machiavelli's The Prince, so that they, too, can understand why others are willing to do anything in their power to cut down others. If you wish to read more, make sure to check it out. Up next is Anderson.
Hello, I'm Anderson, and I'm a sophomore at Princeton High School, and this is my first year on TAB.
Today I'll be talking about Scythe by Neil Shusterman. My friend got me this book, and I thought it would be a great read. Upon actually reading it, it did not disappoint. The book is set in 2042, where a new age for humanity arises, the immortal age. Not everybody can live forever, and all injuries can be cured too. This leads to people doing stupid stuff, like parkouring across buildings. The ruling power of this time is the Thunderhead, an AI that decides that to control overpopulation, a certain amount of the population should be killed. This act is called gleaning. Those who do it are called scythes. These killers don't have to follow normal laws that the citizens have to abide by. Scythes can even give immunity from being gleaned for a certain amount of time. Scythes choose and how individuals are going to die. Some follow their own rules, while others pick who to glean. Others kill for joy without reasoning. Personally, I think that their methods were immoral, but that's up for you to decide. After a high-ranking scythe named Faraday talks with two high school social outcasts, Citron and Rowan, he sees compassionate and redeeming qualities in them and decides to take them both as their apprentices. Compassion is important in the art of gleaning because it keeps the other ruthless scythes who kill for joy in check. At the end of their training, only one can become the real scythe. If you want to find out what happens to the other, make sure to check out the book. Scythe is a great read because it offered insight into a dystopian future that parallels our problems today. Human evils, disagreements in government, and conquering adversity are all seen in Scythe. As earlier mentioned, the Thunderbird AI chooses who to be gleaned. This book is especially relevant today as the rise of AI is especially prevalent in programs like ChatGPT. As I read, the book revealed its problems to Rowan and Citra, leading to their character growth. For example, they are now open to making new discoveries and come out of their introverted selves. I developed a really deep connection to not only the main characters, but also the secondary characters, the style of reading, which acts like a journal. Scythe is a great book. I recommend it to everyone. There are two more captivating books in the series, Thunderbird, Thunderhead, and The Toll. Next time you're looking for a dystopian story that might make you think about our world as it is, check out Scythe. Next up is Lily.
Hello, I'm also Lily, but with two L's, and the book I'll be presenting is Flowers for Algernon. So, I first encountered this short story version of the novel in middle school, and I stumbled upon the full-length version at the library one day. Both versions are able to communicate the intricate themes well, so I definitely recommend both. Apart from its captivating plot, what makes this novel unique is its epistolary format. Through Charlie Gordon, the main character's progress reports, readers are intimately immersed in his daily life. This diary-like structure creates a close and personal reading experience. The title, Flowers for Algernon, alludes to the tragic conclusion of the story. Algernon, a lab rat, undergoes a groundbreaking brain surgery to increase his intelligence, and Charlie Gordon is the first human subject. Initially, the surgery transforms Charlie into a genius, fulfilling his lifelong dream as he was born with a learning disability. His IQ soars post-surgery, yet Charlie grapples with a newfound arrogance and struggles to navigate his transformed life as his perspective changes. Charlie discovers that the surgery is not permanent, and through his interactions with Algernon, whose own intelligence and brain performance has been deteriorating. This leads him to spiral down until he's able to find peace with himself. Charlie's belief that intelligence holds the key to his personal and societal challenges is shattered as he realizes that knowledge alone does not guarantee fulfillment. As a student who's often daydreamed about a sudden increase in knowledge, especially for a test I didn't study for, oops, I found this novel compelling in its exploration of why such fantasies may be misguided. Charlie, having received that boost of intelligence, finds himself lost, unsure of how to apply his newfound intelligence meaningfully. Through Charlie's evolving perspective, the reader embarks on a poignant exploration of life's complexities. Flowers for Algernon is a roller coaster of emotions, offering a compelling glimpse into Charlie's struggles and his journey of self-discovery. Its profound portrayal of humanity makes it a key reason for my recommendation. Next up is audio.
Hello, I'm Adya. I'm a senior at Princeton Day School, and I've been in TAB for 3 years. Today I will be talking about Emma by Jane Austen. So while many are familiar with Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice, Emma is a book that I think is a little less read, but I think it definitely deserves more attention, as it happens to be among my personal favorites of Jane Austen's work. Emma follows the story of Emma Woodhouse, a character Austen once described as one whom no one but herself will much like. Emma is pretty, wealthy, spoiled, and with a penchant for matchmaking, but vows not to marry herself. What draws me to this book is Emma's believably imperfect nature. She is selfish, yes, but her heart is often in the right place. Despite her missteps and occasional harm to those around her, her character development throughout the novel is one of the most compelling I've ever encountered in books I've read. Moreover, Mr. Knightley, the main love interest, serves as the perfect foil to Emma. His rationality and level-headedness balance her overactive imagination in the best way. When I recommended this novel to a friend, she asked me, why is Mr. Knightley the only good character in this novel? And that's precisely why I adore Emma. No one in this book is actually flawless or wholly good all the time. Everyone has their little imperfections, and Austen masterfully captures the humanity of her characters through these imperfections. Once you're finished reading, I also highly recommend watching the 2020 adaptation of the novel, if you haven't already. It's one of my favorite movies and one of my favorite Austen adaptations after the 1995 adaptation of Pride and Prejudice. Next up is Shira.
Hello, I'm Shira, and this is my second year at TAB. This book is The Vauxhall Court by Nora Sakovic, which is part of a series called All for the Game. It's a self-published title that found a huge following online. And what I love about this book is that it breaks a lot of conventions, and it has a demisexual main character, something that isn't often represented in the media. This book, it centers around a character called Neil Jostin, a high school student on the run from his criminal family. He has a really strong passion for the sport called XC, which is kind of like a bastardized version of lacrosse and hockey. And eventually he gets recruited for the Vauxes, a college team notorious for their misfit players and their philosophy of like giving everybody a second chance. And Neil, against his better judgment, he accepts and he joins his team. And now with these new teammates, he has to figure out what kind of life is worth fighting for. And because of the dangers of his life, he's used to lying and running and trying to survive. But as he gets closer with his teammates, he has to question everything he's been taught and if he's willing to risk his life for a sport and a chance at family. And this book, it has so much going on that it can't really be fit into one box or another. At its core, though, this is a book about people who love a flawed found family story and rethinking what it means to heal from trauma. This concludes the I Read This Book 2024. Thank you so much for joining us.